It's Mock Draft Friday, Rams House. Today, we are running through a 7-round mock for the Los Angeles Rams. We're going to project every single pick that the Rams have. We're going to make multiple trades today as well. We are moving around the board, moving down, moving up, all sorts of moves as we try to recreate what trader Les Snead and Sean McVay might come up with on draft night for this team. And I think, not to toot my own horn, we did a pretty solid job here on the show today. But let me know, before we get into this one, I need to hear from you guys. Do we want 2 mock drafts next week? Only 2 weeks to go until the NFL draft. So next week, all week, it's the week before we're really fully in the mud of the NFL draft. Do we want 2 mocks next week or do we want 1? They'd both be 7-round mock drafts. Let me know by liking today's show if you want 2 mock drafts next week. We got to get to 200 likes. That'll send that signal to me and to the bosses here. I got to let them know, hey, I need a little bit more time in the schedule next week so we can get 2 Rams mock drafts done. So let me know by getting us to 200 likes on today's show. And let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right into the mock. First overall pick, as always, Fernando Mendoza, followed by David Bailey. Odds shifting there between Bailey and Arvell Reese as to who's going to be the second overall pick for the New York Jets. Maui Noah goes third to the Arizona Cardinals, followed by a fit that I really like, just obviously nothing to do with the Rams. Sonny Styles to the Titans. I think that would be a very good pick for Tennessee. Moving on to 5 through 8, and this is where things start to go sideways for the Rams. Mansour Delane goes 5th to the Giants. We don't really care about that. 6th, Carnell Tate comes off the board. And I'm going to tell you guys one thing to watch for on draft night. If the Browns go receiver or weapon in general at 6, I think you're going to start to see more of them come off the board before the Rams. At least one more will, because there's 2 other teams there that could really look at doing it right after the Browns. If the Browns go offensive tackle, it's going to leave an extra weapon available for you at 13. But this becomes the disaster board. Jeremiah Love goes 7th, followed by Jermod McCoy at 9th to the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals and the Chiefs make a little bit of a trade here. We switched over to the A to Z mock draft simulator today. One of the reasons why is because the CPUs can make some trades. I think that makes it a little bit more realistic. So we see that play out here as the Chiefs pick up an extra 3rd-round pick to move back 1 spot, and they take Mekhi Lemon. So the 1st and 2nd players on my board for the Los Angeles Rams are off the board now, as Mekhi Lemon and Carnell Tate are no longer available. Ruben Bain slides, but not for too long. He goes 11th to the Miami Dolphins, followed by Caleb Downs at 12th, which puts us on the board at 13th with a couple of options. Jordan Tyson is there for you. You guys know I'm not too huge on that. At the end of the day, the injury history with Tyson scares me, and I don't like the idea of taking him at 13. Kenyon Sadiq is another interesting option, but at the end of the day, I think the Rams are looking to move a little bit more away from 13 personnel. I don't think we're going to see it quite as much as we did last year, and I don't think Sadiq is going to be the selection either. If he is, then, hey, I'm totally wrong about that, and we're going even more into 13 personnel, but that'll really be the sign. And then KC Concepcion, like Jordan Tyson, very interesting to me, but just not quite good enough to warrant a pick at 13. I think he'd be available if we traded down, so that's exactly what we're going to do. We're taking option D on the multiple choice test, and we are moving down. We're calling the Carolina Panthers. They're coming up for 13. We're getting 19, 83, and 119 in the NFL draft. A haul of draft capital that gets us back in the 4th round in this year's draft. Enormous move, in my opinion. This would be a huge trade for the Los Angeles Rams and a big-time win, especially when you see how it plays out and who we get at the 19th overall pick. You're absolutely going to agree with me. But if you already do, if you would make this trade, slap a like on today's video. If you haven't already hit the like button, go down there and do it if you're on board with this trade. If not, let me know in the comments why you wouldn't be a fan. What's stopping you from making this move? Would you want Jordan Tyson? Would you want Kenyon Sadiq? Let me know in the comments below. Let's see who we can end up getting at 19th, though. Jordan Tyson goes right at 13th. That's who Carolina trades up for with us. Monroe Freeling goes 14th to the Baltimore Ravens, followed by Fano at 15th to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Kenyon Sadiq goes 16th to the New York Jets, followed by Vega Owane to the Minnesota Vikings at 17th. Keldrick Falk goes 18th to the Detroit Lions, and that puts us right back on the board to do something we consider doing at 13. Take KC Concepcion. Home run move. Guys, as good gets. You get a guy we were contemplating and have been contemplating at 13. Somebody a lot of Rams fans and Rams analysts would be fine with being the pick at 13. We get him at 19, and we get a third and fourth round pick for the trouble. How about that, my friends? That's a huge win. If you missed our video breaking down all receivers, the top 5 receivers, by Dane Brugler from The Beast, he loves KC Concepcion. Unbelievable release kit on this kid. He offers you special teams value as well as a potential day one punt returner. I definitely think he could play that role for you. 88-yard punt return touchdown this past season. Praised for his work ethic, called an ultimate teammate by his head coach, Mike Elko, this past season. Does have some drop issues. He's a little bit of a smaller guy, lighter frame, and he is currently dealing with a knee injury, something I'm sure the Rams know a little bit more than we do. We know he underwent a knee scope in March of this year with Dr. Dan Cooper. But here's what Dane Brugler had to say on KC Concepcion, his summary. Concepcion must cut down on the drops and fine-tune areas of his game, but he is a versatile playmaker with an innate feel for getting open before the catch and creating after it. He has the receiving talent to become a starting slot or Z while also providing value as a punt returner. I think he's your day one slot receiver. I think you move Puka back to the boundary. I think KC plays that role in the slot, drawing attention towards the middle of the field, creating more one-on-one opportunities for Puka and for Devontae, especially in the red zone, making life even easier on both of those guys. He is the day one weapon that we have been talking about. He is the day one third option that Matthew Stafford in this Rams offense absolutely need to go to the next level, to take this thing to even greater heights than we saw last year. But let's see how we can continue to upgrade this roster at the 61st overall pick in the second round. Here's who was available for us. Julian Neal, a defensive back out of Arkansas that we haven't talked about a ton on the channel yet, followed by Jake Golday and Kyle Lewis, 2 linebackers that we have hammered. If you're not familiar with those 2 guys, we did an entire video breaking down all of the linebacker options that I think are of interest to the Rams, and we talked about those guys in depth, but we're not going to go in that direction this time. This time we're adding more depth to the corner room with a player who's just too good to pass on at 61, in my opinion, and that is Arkansas Razorback Julian Neal. A perfect match, in my opinion, for what Jimmy Lake, our new defensive back coach, wants to do on the defensive end. I think he fits that scheme perfectly. 6'2", 200 pounds, long, strong, boundary corner, disruptive at the catch point, especially last season, really taking that step in SEC play after his transfer to Arkansas. 12 pass breakups and 2 interceptions last year, but disruptive in the Mountain West with Fresno State in 2024 as well. 8 pass breakups and 2 picks there as well. So if you want to know, hey, can this guy take that step? Can he compete at a higher level? He already showed you that he can last season in the transition successfully from Fresno State to Arkansas. You see him take that step. Is that similar to jumping to the NFL level? Not quite. Of course, it's a bigger jump from Mountain West competition to NFL or to SEC competition than it is from SEC to NFL, but it's similar in the sense of having to adapt your game, having to adapt to better, stronger, faster athletes. He knows what that's like already. He's been through that, and he's a highly experienced corner to continue to add depth to a room that is incredibly revamped and entirely revamped, this offseason. But let's see who was available at 83. Remember, we still have that extra third-round pick. Thank you, Panthers, for letting us trade down a couple spots, because look who's available at 83 here. Jake Golday and Kyle Lewis, both right there. And Demetrius Crownover as well. I considered him, but I can't get out of round 3 without a linebacker, and I can't not take Kyle Lewis. man, oh man, would this be a excellent second round of the draft. My goodness, guys. You have really taken steps as a coverage unit already this offseason. But to do these two moves in the second and third round within 22 picks of each other, you've added two more guys that continue to build a defense that is locked down against the pass. Something that is just so far from what we were last season. A unit that was, for lack of a better word, horrendous against the pass. A unit that just could not disrupt opposing passing attacks. Even though we could consistently get after the quarterback, it wasn't a pass rush issue. It was a coverage issue. It was a coverage issue over the middle of the field. It was a coverage issue on the boundaries. Now, you've replaced last year's core with a brand new one that consists of Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson, now a new young corner in Julian Neal, and a new young piece for the middle of this defense, the best coverage linebacker in this entire draft class in Kyle Lewis out of Pitt. Someone who a lot of people compare to a box safety, a big, strong safety that could come down and almost play that linebacker role a little bit, but has the coverage skills required to cover the back end of a defense. That is what we're talking about here as a potential installment in the middle of your team, because we don't need him at safety. Safety is locked down. It's basically like having three coverage safeties patrolling the middle of your field. Who likes that? I love that. Let's see what else we can do here. 93rd overall, just 10 picks later in the third round, we grab a potential QB of the future and depth for this QB room, which still doesn't have an established backup at this point, in Garrett Nussmeier out of LSU. Someone we know the Rams are interested in. He told us that himself earlier this offseason. We already made a video about this, but if you missed it, here's what Garrett had to say on the Insiders earlier this year. I've got a lot of stuff coming up. I've got the Jets coming in the next couple of days here. I've got the Rams coming into town. I'm heading out to Indianapolis. I've got Zooms every day, and I'm sure there'll be a couple more visits in there. So I'm just grateful to any organization that's going to give me a chance. Did you hear that right? The Rams coming into town. A team that doesn't do a lot of pre-draft visits. A team that doesn't go visit its prospects very often, both for a lack of desire to signal who they're picking to other teams and just not really seeing it as being the most important thing. So when they do, you have to take notice. And when they do it with the quarterback, you know we're going to take notice. Especially when it's a guy who coming into this season was projected to potentially be a top 10 pick in this year's draft. People looked at 2024 Garrett Nussmeier's tape and said, hey, that guy could be a franchise QB. That guy might be worth a first-round pick. He dealt with serious injuries in 2025. We've talked about that at length already. He hasn't actually revealed the full cause or full diagnosis of those injuries, but we know it was a clavicle issue, and we know that was a major reason why he took a step back. If he's fully healthy, can he develop behind Matthew Stafford with the best coach in the NFL guiding him? I absolutely think so. Moving up, we've got another trade coming our way. We're taking the extra fourth we got from Carolina and one of our seventh-round compensatory picks and sending them to Cleveland for the 109th overall pick because this guy was falling and I couldn't let him continue to slide. Isaiah World, the offensive tackle out of Oregon, someone that just feels like such a great fit for the Rams, in my opinion, for what the Rams like in their offensive tackles, for what the Rams want to do with developmental pieces. I really think they could work so well with Isaiah World. I really think he could be that guy who has all of the traits that you'd want in an offensive lineman. Big, strong, 6'8", 318-pound mountain of a human being who transferred from Nevada to Oregon this year as the number one product in the entire transfer portal. Has experience across the line. If you can believe that, this guy played guard at some points at Nevada. Just a whale of a man at guard, kind of like a Daniel Falele, if you're familiar with the new Giants edition. You think he's a 6'7" guard. But there's a number of different usages for Isaiah World at the NFL level. I do think his ultimate landing spot will be tackle, but he has versatility for you as you continue to figure out what the future of this offensive line looks like. Not something I think you need to address in the first round, but Warren McClendon hasn't been extended yet. Steve Avila hasn't been extended yet. Isaiah World could be the replacement for either one of those guys because ultimately something's going to have to give along this offensive line as the cap situation just isn't infinite at the end of the day. You're going to hand out a lot of money. Somebody's going to be left getting their money from another team. And we're going to need Isaiah World to step up. I think he's got all the traits to do it. Technique just needs some work. And at the end of the day, that's where our coaching staff can shine once again, just like they did with Warren McClendon, just like they've done with other guys in the past, helping him take that next step. Moving on to our 6th and 7th round picks, leaves us with just 3 of those. We had 4, but we obviously sent the 251st over to Cleveland for Isaiah World's draft rights. 6th round, we went Jamari Taylor. The Rams have picked a running back in every draft since 2019. Don't think they'll change that pattern this year. Another addition to the depth of our offensive line with Fabechi and Nwanu out of Oklahoma. I really like the idea of that, although I'm a little biased as a Boomer Sooner fan. And then lastly, Xavier Wampa from Iowa, a veteran safety. Really, really high recruiting pedigree as well with him. Someone that we could hopefully get back on track after a bit of a rough 2025 as solid depth for this safety room. Let me know. What do you guys think? Give me a grade for the mock draft. How would you feel if this is how things played out for the Los Angeles Rams on draft night? Would you be thrilled? Give me an A. Would you be pissed? Give me an F. Let me know in the comments below. Give me a little bit of an explanation too. Don't just hit and run grade me. Give me a little bit of reasoning as to why my grade is an A or my grade is an F. You know, I like that constructive criticism so I can improve in the next mock draft that we do on next Friday. Or, hey, if we get to 200 likes, we'll have 2 mock drafts cooked up for you guys. So like that video, or like this video, excuse me, if you want 2 mock drafts next week, and we will see you in the next one. As always, thank you for spending your time with us today, and let's go Los Angeles Rams.